Hello, it's Keith Seymour from Real Talk again. Uh, as you can see by the title of this, it's not easy being biracial, and I am biracial. This interview was inspired not only by the comments made by Megan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, and Prince Harry in the recent Oprah interview, but some of the responses, or rather the lack thereof, that have or have not appeared on mainstream media and even social media. As stated in another video, introducing this topic, whether it was a bigoted, blatant bigoted comment or just a passing, have you considered what your child would look like? It was out of line. It was insensitive. Now, in the video prior to this, I also bring up, why would Prince Harry tell his pregnant wife something that would upset her when she's already in an emotional and physical condition where she's susceptible to being easily upset? And the answer is, he wanted to let Meghan know he had his back, which is admirable. He was behind her 100%. It didn't make a difference what the family said. He was there for her. And I understand that as a man. I understand that. But why didn't he go to the Queen? And let her deal with it? Maybe it didn't occur to him. But why didn't it occur to him? My theory is this, based on experience and speaking with other biracial people. Prince Harry was uncomfortable with this situation, which is still relatively new to him. Not because he doesn't love Meghan, but because he does. I may be wrong, but this should be a point of view that is explored. Meghan is biracial, but you can tell she's got African American in her just by looking at her. And while he may love his son and his future daughter, who in all probability may be just as dark as Meghan, there are going to be comments made behind his back in the media. And this is true of any family. Had Megan married into a black family, particularly a prominent black Hollywood or political family, the same comment would have been made, except it would have been, are you concerned that the baby's not going to be dark enough? Is the baby going to be too light? And while we're on the topic, the royal family has been attacked. Meghan has attacked her father and said her mother has been really great. But you know what? There have been no reports of Doria Markle visiting the Mountbatten Windsors or the Suffolkses since they've returned to the States. Now, I can understand a flight to England's expensive, but come on. Your daughter has her first child. Yes, as a mother, you're going to be there. So, why hasn't Mrs. Markle visited her daughter and son in law and grandchild up to this point? If they have, I'd like to know about it. Is it because Mrs. Markle was worried that she might be mistaken for the nanny or the maid, even in liberal California? Because the baby is so much lighter than her? Maybe there are aunts and uncles that exist that are saying things that she's afraid is going to slip out, are going to slip out, rather. Or maybe Megan's worried about these perceptions. These are things that biracial people have got to deal with. As I said in an introductory video, when I announced that I was going to make this and the previous video, it's not hardest for biracial people as children when we are called zebras, palominos, penguins, half-breeds, Oreos, and just about any other combination of black and white. That is meant to be insulting because we have parents, teachers, siblings, we have grown-ups who will protect us from that bullying and will put an end to it. But when you get to be an adult, when you go into college, you start your career, that's when it starts. That's when it becomes really bad because it doesn't just go into the overt name calling. It's more covert. It appears in a conversational manner. Oh, you have one black parent and one white parent. That's interesting. I think that's interesting. And you're close to both of them. That's good. By the way, which box do you check? Now, there's no way of answering this question without being attacked. Now, I have friends who are from other biracial uh, areas, blacks and Hispanics, combination, Hispanic and white, Asian and white, Asian and black. And over the years, I've had discussions with them. And I don't recall once, and maybe it has happened, but it hasn't happened enough times that I actually recall it. Ever being told or informed that they have been asked which box that you check. Now, as I just stated a moment ago, there's no way of answering this question without being attacked. You could tell them that's extremely rude and it's none of your business. You will be likely accused, and again, I am speaking from experience in all of these examples, of being ashamed of who you are or one of your parents. Not wanting to deal with reality or trying to be something you're not by eliminating part of your heritage or a combination of any or all of the above. If you base your answer on the race of the person to whom you are speaking, in other words, are you speaking to a Caucasian or white person, or are you speaking to a black or what we in the States call African American person? You're going to be accused of trying to be something you're not. Or even, again, denying a part of who you are. Now, as my sister Kim recently pointed out to me, and although I am biracial, I should mention here I was adopted into a white family, and it was probably tougher for them growing when I was growing up than it was for me because they did stand up for me. And for years, I thought I was getting this because I was adopted into a white family. And then I met biracial people with one black parent and one white parent. And I found out I wasn't alone. If you say that you check the box, two or more races or other, and put biracial, one biological black parent, one biological white parent, then basically, and this is what I do, then you are basically going to be given what I call the reality speech, and it's extremely insulting. You will be told that you're going to be treated by people based on what they see. You can check whatever box you want. You can honor both parents and both sides of your heritage. but you're going to be treated based on what you see. You're going to have the N word thrown at you because your skin is lighter. It may not happen as much, but your hair is a dead giveaway. And biracial females, such as Megan Markle, have the advantage of makeup and straightening the hair, and but your hair is the dead giveaway. So you may be pulled over for DWB, driving while black. I can't say that's actually happened to me, but maybe I just didn't recognize it. You will be seen as black by blacks and as black by whites. Look, this is something that we already know. But you asked how I identified myself and why. And I told you. Now, based on my conversations with various biracial people, and this includes one or two biracial females I have gone out with one white parent, one black parent. I have no doubt that at some point, to some degree, Miss Markle probably has dealt with some variation of what I've just described. Now, she's a Hollywood actress, she's famous, and so it may not appear, at least be as obvious. But I do recall that when she got married, and I mentioned this in a previous video, there were black people, mostly women, who said they were thrilled that Megan had found happiness, that her family accepted her in spite of her race, and the fact that she was divorcee, which the Queen could have nixed under the Royal Marriages Act, mentioned in the previous video. But these comments were followed in the same breath, pretty much, by, it's a shame that a woman that attractive, a sister, a fine looking sister, that attractive, that intelligent, that talented, who can have any man that she wants, she goes and marries a white man. Some even say turn her back on her own race and marry a white man. And in the States, a white man who's not even from her own country. I've never met Miss Markle or Prince Harry, and I probably, unfortunately, will never have the honor of doing so. So I don't know if she went through this. I'm basing what I believe likely may have happened in her lifetime based on my own experiences and the experiences of people that I know who have one black parent and one white parent. So let's look at why she might marry a white guy. Other than the fact that she is obviously in love with him and he's obviously in love with her, and that should be the end of it. I have been told, and I've experienced this with girls that I've dated in their response to me. When the other party, the non-biracial party, and they may be from extremely light skinned, and the parents and the grandparents are all African American. They may come out and say something like, I think your family's great, but let's not mention your white family member quite yet. My parents want to meet your parents. Why don't we just invite your mother and stepfather and leave your father out of it, or your father and stepmother and leave your mother out of it? My parents wouldn't understand. And yes, I live in South Carolina, and this is probably one of the most racially polarized, if not the most racially polarized state in the country. However, I've traveled enough to know, and my family in this has lived all over this country, enough to know that it happens in the North, it happens in the Midwest, it happens on the West Coast, and it happens on the East Coast. Now, again, Miss Markle's famous. She's a Hollywood actress, so maybe it's more accepting. And I don't know what her relationship is with her parents. And if it's strained, I don't know if this is why it is strained. But we don't deal with this sufficiently in mainstream media. And I'd say sufficiently because it is dealt with in the media. Here in the United States, we have two programs. They are both sitcoms, comedies. The first one is called Blackish, and it is about an African American couple and their three kids. And the mother of the family, well, the father of the family is dark skinned African American. The mother of the family is light skinned. And again, this goes into colorism, which is dealt on this program. Dark skinned versus light skinned. And comments are made like by the father sometimes, "Well, honey, you don't," or his mother, "You don't know what it's like being black. You had a white daddy. You don't know what it's like. You're not a real black." The point is, we're never really accepted into either race. We're tolerated. The second is a spin-off. It's type of like a prequel, and it deals with the mother growing up in the '80s with, a black mother and a white father, and how they told them that, race is, you are who you are, and people should accept you for who you are. And they are there to stand behind their daughter. And it deals with the challenges that she and her siblings deal with as teenagers and as children. But what about college? What about when she started her medical career? Megan in California is going to be perceived as black, African American, biracial African American, and her children are going to be asked, which box do you check? Probably. But they will only be 1/8 African American or 1/8 black, however you wish to phrase it. And there are still people out there who will point out the one drop rule. Now, when taken all this separately or together, it comes out to this. African Americans in particular, but whites also, are basically telling us as politely as they can, you are what people see. That means you're black. You can cut the charade with checking two or more races or both boxes. Wake up and smell the coffee. This is insulting. And yes, it is dealt with at least on television programs. But comedies. I'd like to see this dealt with in a more serious way. A drama, a soap opera. And we actually did have one of our soap operas still on the air, General Hospital, did have a mixed marriage. I don't think any offspring came from that, but they separated you know, and it's a shame. We live in a society in which we can talk about the LGBTQ community. We can talk about racism, but we can't talk about racism and insensitive comments against biracials unless it's in a comedy. And that's why I'm making this tape. It's not easy being biracial. And it's not easy because of the stereotypes and the requirements and the restrictions that are put on us. I don't ask you to choose whether you are Hispanic or Asian or white or Asian. I don't do that. I don't ask you to choose between whether you are English or German or Irish or American. So why are you going to ask me or any other biracial person of with one white parent and one black parent to choose? Because that's what you're doing when you give us the speech about we we already know people are going to judge us, but what we identify as is what makes us feel comfortable. I would have really liked to have seen this dealt with. And after the interview, and again, everybody's attacking the father, who is white, and the royal family, who's white, but nobody's questioning as to why Grandma Markle hasn't come by and visited her grandchild, which would normally happen. And if it had, it probably would have been in every tabloid and newspaper in the United States and probably England. Again, I don't know what her relationship with her parents are, and I guess that most certainly should be taken into account. But I want to close in making this one statement. It has always, well, for as long as I can remember, astounded me that the one group of people, biracial people, people with one white parent and one black parent, as well as other biracials, rather than being used as a catalyst, as as a group to bring the races together, to try and get them to deal with their history, which is negative. I get that. I live in South Carolina. I get it. The Civil War, the civil rights, slavery, great. I get it. But we're not talking about something that happened 60 years ago. We're not talking about something that happened 200 years ago or 2,000 years ago. We're talking about society now. We're talking about the 21st century. So it has always amazed me that rather than approaching those of us who are biracial, whether it's black and white or a combination of any other group, as people who can be used to bring an understanding between the two races, and I did this when working for Black newspapers, mostly minority targeted newspapers. And one way I did this is I solicited an ad from Bessinger's Barbecue. Maurice Bessinger Sr. was a racist. He even went as far as to say that blacks were better off as slaves than we are as free people. And he put out all sorts of racist literature to the point that the grocery stores in, I think it was 1998, 1999, refused to sell any of his sauces. However, after he died, his son took over. And he's a really nice guy. He does not share his dad's views. And he was willing to advertise in a Black newspaper. Most people, most African American newspapers would not have touched Bessinger's. But instead, we go ahead and treat those of us who are biracial in a manner that really only makes more visible the divisions in how the races really see each other. Martin Luther King said that his dream was a day when blacks and whites could live together in harmony. When blacks and whites could be friends. I'd like to think that speech extended to marriage and offspring. Thank you for your time. I hope I haven't gone on too long. But I felt this was an important topic. I am always interested in your comments. So please comment on this site. You can get hold of me on Twitter, Right Stuff Seymour, WRITECMOUR at twitter.com. And even if your views differ with my own, because I can learn from you, and you can learn from me, and that's the purpose of these videos. I am interested in your comments. Have a good Sunday, and here's till next time.